Off the back of that win for Vipers, we're now heading into our third game of the day, and that is going to be going up against Atlando and Dusty. So Atlando obviously struggling so far with only 2 wins to the name across the Nordic Championships, and Dusty, the definition of middle of the road at 4-4, middle of the table.
Yeah, and this should be a win that they want to pick up, especially it was one they did last time. They beat out Atlando, and you want to maintain that consistency. Atlando are a team who have struggled to really find momentum. I think they've been served best when they're on comfort picks. I think Thor on Varus, Fred on Rakan, and when they've had pretty easy to execute teamfight compositions. Jarvan has been a big pick for them, for Jolbu, because when they play that, they press R, they press more Rs, they win. Feels like sometimes when the win conditions don't line up clearly, it can be difficult for them to execute. So that's what I'm sort of looking towards in the draft is give yourself a composition that essentially plays itself, and then you can let their mechanics, which are fine, do the talking. For Dusty, it's been a bit inconsistent. There's been times where sometimes their drafts, I feel like, haven't given them it's sort of easier to play compositions. Sometimes they've been really intelligent and it's given them a clear advantage, but the little bit of inconsistencies there. And then also earlier in the split, a big thing was them falling over at the last hurdle where the game was theirs. The game was won.
I feel like sometimes they put a lot of they rely quite heavily on Coincidence's split push pressure and side lane ability. I've seen them, especially when he gets his Yorick, he seems to just pop off.
Which I think is fine, but it hasn't always come through, because obviously there was a game up against Lundorf where Lundorf, despite Coincidence having the counter pick on the rise, he just got minced. But here, this is one I'm feeling confident about. Draft has started, so seeing a lot of power picks has been banned away. Interesting to see the Jarvan denied. That could potentially set up Thor for an immobile AD carry, as he doesn't have as much concern about playing up to that. Dusty just banning away those tier 1 first picks. They've gone for the Syndra. The Ornn potentially could see the Misfortune come out here. Would make sense if you're leaning towards that, although you have a variety of options. Yeah,
I mean, some of the big power picks that are usually first pickable have been already taken away. It's going to be the Senna banned finally on last rotation here for Dusty, and we'll see what the first pick is for Atlando. Obviously, the Syndra, which has been common, the Ornn, which is very common, is already banned away. We'll see what is on the table. It's going to be the Gragas here, we assume, for Jolbu, almost certainly for Jolbu.
Yeah, so putting high priority on this jungler initially, it does mean that you essentially hand over the Misfortune to Dusty if they want to take it. That carry, I feel like, especially with the Senna and the Aphelios off the table, really stands out as the one that's strong and left open and available. It comes down to what else Dusty you want to necessarily prioritize in this situation. You could just take a jungler yourself. Joachim, happy to play the Lee Sin and lock that one in. And the question is going to be, are you going to prioritize that Misfortune, or do you want to go in another direction? The teams so far haven't really been looking too much into it. Feels like in the UKLC we've seen a bit more.
I think Dusty have played Misfortune. I do remember specifically seeing Dusty play Misfortune.
But I just mean generally the priority's been lower. And we're seeing that again with an Ezreal Hover potentially, but instead going for the Thresh. So something that only 35, who's had some pretty solid games, can be aggressive on. And then also in tandem with that, it's a pick that can set the Lee Sin up, but also shut him down if it's on the other team. So denying that one away.
We'll see what Atlando choose to respond with on their final rotation on this first section of draft. They've got the Gragas already. They could go for their bot lane and then keep things a little bit more open for the second phase of the draft here. It is going to be thought about Misfortune. I think it's a solid pick. It gets banned out for a reason. Nautilus Misfortune is a really good combo as well, so we'll see where they choose to land. But I think Nautilus Misfortune is safe. It works well. It's tried and tested. It's a good setup.
Yeah, they opt to go for the Nautilus instead of the Leona, which we typically see paired up with Misfortune because of the Thresh pick. So Leona, bit hard to play in the Thresh when you can flay out your Zenith Blade. Nautilus, a lot easier to sort of play that matchup. And so they've given themselves really strong team fight already with those picks. Dusty, though, they're looking for a lot of early pressure around that mid-jungle matchup. Joachim Legions can be monstrous if they can get the ball rolling.
I mean, it's one of the most deadly combos in that mid lane. Huge burst potential, especially in the early game. It is going to be the Lee Sin and the LeBlanc, and you can ban away a couple of picks that you don't want to see here. With the Syndra already off the table, they're going to follow up with a Zoe ban. I imagine this is going to be heavily targeted towards the mid lane. You probably go for your AD carry on the first pick here, and then you give Coincidence that potential for a counter pick, maybe looking for side lane pressure, as we know that he likes that style of play.
The question is for Atlando, you can ban away towards Coincidence if you are concerned about things like the Yorick, that he could potentially counterpick. He's in a position to do so. They do take that. But also the question is, what AD carry would Hoyes play in this situation? As I feel like matching up into the Misfortune, you don't have a lot of great choices necessarily. Ezreal gets shoved in pretty hard. Varus works, but you are pretty low range.
And you're at risk of the Nautilus and the Gragas later in the game as well.
I mean, low range maybe probably isn't the biggest issue. Your range is okay, but I'd say the big thing is that your lack of mobility, and then playing with the Misfortune ultimate is the bigger problem.
What about Lucian? Is Lucian a potential pick that we could see here?
You definitely could take that, but you will get outscaled pretty hard by the Misfortune, and if she gets a lead, you're just useless.
Tristana?
Don't really see much Tristana AD carry. It's normally in the mid lane. Callista you could actually play. We've seen a lot more Callistas recently. That'd be bold, but
again, slightly low range. That's the problem again with Callista.
Yeah.
But she's very, very flexible. She's good at just automatically finding dodge potential versus things like the Nautilus.
I think the thing is you have the mobility to play around, so that can be a massive factor. I feel like nothing really is going to outrange the ult of Misfortune, so it's fine. But Ziggs,
it's going to be the Ziggs. The Ziggs bot lane. Look at this guy here. He's been spamming it.
It's a good neutralizing pick. You know, if you just want to play the Thresh Ziggs, you have the Thresh stuff for the safety and the disengage. You have the Ziggs to clear out the waves, especially once you hit that Luden spike. You can just blow lanes up instantly. And we've seen the Malzahar come out for Jacob. So again, neutralizing pick in the mid lane. These two teams very clear where they want to play around, and very clear where they also don't want to play around. So Yorick banned away means the Gangplank is a more viable pick in the top lane. And
safe blind as well. We know that it's a pretty safe blind.
Yeah, so here you could potentially pick something that Quinstons could use to find an advantage in the top lane.
Fiora, Camille.
Lucian even is good into the Gangplank. You could even take a Quinn, actually, in this matchup. But seems like he'll just go towards that Camille.
I think Camille's a safe one. I mean, she's not quite
the mobility to get away.
Yeah, but also she's not quite as single-minded as Fiora. Like, she has that potential to be impactful in team fights, whereas Fiora, we know, is just primarily going to be sitting in a side lane.
Yeah, I don't think you really want to play team fights against Atlando, though.
No, I think Atlando's team fights crush you most of the time.
Yeah, you have pretty strong 1-3-1. You have a neutralizing bot lane. You have strong solo laners you can play around, and you want pressure on this mid-jungle matchup, and you expand the control from there, and you want to keep the momentum going. You want to get a strong early to mid-game, and you want to transition that into finding picks around Baron, taking the game. Atlando, longer the game goes, the better for them. If they can get their bot lane ahead, great. If Jacob survives the laning phase, even better.
I actually almost think
they're really solid.
Like, they've got a late game get out clause for Dusty though. You've got Ziggs. Like, later on in the game, you can just try and spam your Q, and if you land a couple of Qs before the fight starts, so you're already in a good spot.
The problem is, realistically, if you land Qs before a fight starts, the enemy team's trolling. And I say this as someone who's played quite a bit of Ziggs. It's a pretty slow skill shot, especially when you have a load of movement speed and likes the MF. You shouldn't be getting hit before a team fight.
Sure.
Zone control is a big factor. Wave clear is a big factor. Getting poked out, less so. And I think the thing is, there's strong engage potential from Atlando. You have the Nautilus, you have the Gragas as well. And I think you don't have the front line of Dusty, because if you have someone to pin down members off Atlando, you can definitely threaten. Like, if Camille's strong enough to jump in and ult Misfortune, then you press R on top, you can do a lot of damage. But if you fall behind and Misfortune's got a Bloodthirster, just gonna brush it off, not bothered.
Right, well, we are jumping into game here. Atlando versus Dusty. Atlando much needing the win to make sure they put themselves in at least the bottom spot of playoff contention. Dusty are sitting pretty well right now, but picking up a win would make them feel more comfortable going into the later weeks of the Nordic Championships. And remember, after this game, we have Nordivind going up against Singularity. Nordivind massively underperforming so far in the Nordic Championships, but this might be their game to step it up versus the top team in the league. We are onto the Rift here. Atlando with a very big scaling team fight composition. It's a very classic kind of Quinstance 1-3-1-esque thing coming in from Dusty right now. We'll see which team comes out on top.
It's all going to be about Joachim in this situation. Joachim and Legions and what they can do in the early game with these picks. If they're able to find success, that can really dictate the pace of this game, and they need it to be fast. I want to see them prioritize the neutral objectives early. If you cement the dragon quickly, it can lead into an early soul, which puts pressure on Atlando. If you take the Herald, then obviously you're able to get that gold and start snowballing the game.
Very, very calm level ones. You've had every Nordic game that I've cast with you so far, everyone's had a very calm level one. Even with the likes of the Ziggs level one potential and the Thresh here. They don't want to face check into a Nautilus, of course.
I feel like Ziggs, Thresh are okay, but not great. it's better if they're trying to dive into you, because then you can obviously flay several members. Queue several members. What's weird to me is when we see games like Braum and Olaf, and they don't go for that heavily prioritize. They don't heavily prioritize invades, but some teams just aren't necessarily going to look for that. Legions pops a shield, gets a little bit poke. You can just look for that trade on the Malzahar, and obviously pre-6 you can actually trade pretty heavily against him. But once you get to that point, Malzahar, one of the few champions who can actually shut down a little Blanc. Yeah,
you just hit R post level 6. She distortions in, hit that R, and you're in a good spot. So both bot side of the map starts here for Joachim. Okay, where is it jungle mid that we're looking at here for Dusty? Does it have to be a Joachim Legions game? Is that what they're looking for?
100%. You want the LeBlanc to be ahead. You want the Lee Sin to be applying pressure on the map. If you get the mid lane matchup in control, you can extend that pressure outwards. You can move towards the top lane, you can even move towards the bot lane, and you can look to contest those, and you play around those neutral objectives. I think on the other side, it's a mid-game game for Atlando. They have the Gragas pick into Lee Sin. It's a good matchup for them. They just have to stop the Lee Sin from making that pressure happen.
Pretty chill early game, neutralizing bot lane, like you said here, the Zig, something that you've played quite a lot of. I'm actually going to pick your brains on it, because it's something that we're seeing more and more now in professional level play. Zig's kind of making his way back into the meta. He did have that time 2 years ago where he was getting spammed pretty frequently by everybody in the bot lane. What else can Ziggs offer to you as a bot lane pick here for Dusty?
I mean, his pressure is not actually that high in the early game, because although you have good AoE, you're limited by cooldowns, and if you get auto-attacked heavily, you are going to lose. But you spike really well on one item. Like, Ludens on Ziggs means you can just blow up waves, you have quite a lot of burst, and if there's any CC from your teammates, it's easy to follow up on, especially with the ultimate as well. If there's any lockdown from like a Jarvan or a Camille, it's like a death sentence still on that ult down on top of them. And you're a great neutralizing pick for 1-3-1. So specifically, if you look at this composition of Dusty functioning later in the game, Zig sits in the mid lane. You have Thresh, who provides that constant lantern as an avenue of escape against engages.
Oh my god, Thor, I think forced to burn heal very quickly here. Fred jumping away.
Yeah, and then, as I was saying, you have the Thresh to offer that level of safety. You have the LeBlanc and the Camille in the side lane. But what shouldn't be happening is Ziggs crushing a Misfortune early game. That's not how the matchup goes.
Well, it's happening. That's where we're at right now.
That's a skill difference.
They do have a bot lane pressure here from Julbul coming out. Julbul is in that mid lane, that middle of the river, picking up the Rift Scuttler. So, you can see Dusty just being a little bit careful, pushing too far past the middle portion of this bot lane. You can see now Julbul heading down. He's going to use that Scryers just to get some information about where Lee Sin may be. You'll see that he's not there, and he's going to walk straight over a ward. So just a little bit of relieving pressure just by showing his face here, and you can see that Hoy's at only 35, just being a little careful.
And Jacob actually managed to get a recall off of that TP, but...
Wow, that's an immediate flash. Great Sonic Wave jumps in first blood coming through. That was a really nice play from Legions to jump and just land the chain, because then even if Jacob flashed, there was no way he was getting out.
And this was the issue, I feel, with Julbul going down bot lane. Your mid lane is overextended. This is something Legions does every single game that I've seen him, is his wave management and his freezing. He will freeze the wave in front of his tower, and he will make you step up, and it sets Joachim up to have to gank you and very easily able to shut you down. And now, as a result of getting that pressure, they can look for these invades. And if you look at the wave mid lane, if we can actually head over there, Legion's just still keeping it in the same position to the best of his ability. Yeah, he's still keeping that wave tied up mid.
Take a quick look at mid. We can see where he's got. You can see he's kept that mid lane wave just frozen just outside his turret
when
range.
He can permanently keep it there. And now Julbul is moving up to help Jacob shove in, but your mid lane has already died. You've already paid the cost for that.
But he's keeping it there again. Yeah. He's sacrificing his health just a little bit, but it's making Jacob have to think.
I think now he's shoving. He wants a reset here, so now he's shoving in to spend.
And also, Jacob's nearly 6, so once that 6 happens, this is not going to be such an easy gank to execute on.
So he clears the waves out. He can actually TP back in this. Jacob thinks he's going to shove it into tower. He can TP back in and actually catch it. Although I think with the TP, you can actually hold it here.
He can maybe distortion to...
Jacob's doing his best.
To
try and shove it in. But Legions will hold this.
He's so clever, and he's level 6.
He does this every time.
He's really clever about it. And again, with Joachim being on this bottom side of the map, I mean, there's always the threat.
Malzahar.
Exactly.
You don't want to have to walk up here. This is Legion's in a nutshell, is he will freeze the wave and he will make you walk up on an immobile mage and he will make you regret playing League of Legends.
I think he just wants to try and pop that shield before any kind of fight happens here. He will take a Malefic Visions for it, but he's happy to just sacrifice that shield out. Level 6 now for Jacobs. That makes him a little bit more durable versus an all-in from Legions, but he's just denying CS. He's only 5 right now, but you know, it's just where Jacob has to sit in the lane. He cannot push up. He doesn't have the vision. He doesn't have the support from Jolbu. He is just scared stiff.
He just stands there and he just tries to farm with his Q. He's not playing. He's not playing League of Legends right now. He's playing long-range farming simulator.
Which is not that easy to achieve on a Malzahar.
Oh, but there has become some pressure from Atlando here.
Oh, Flash
actually
comes
been
out.
from only 35, so the reaction comes in. Finally, Atlando have the pressure to move in, and this will allow Jacob to shove into tower and break that freeze. That's something that he's been waiting for a long time. Ultimately, it finally comes out. But it took a lot of effort from Atlando to facilitate that, and this is the problem, is that Jolbu, we wanted to see him apply pressure bot lane, but he's consistently being forced to sit mid. And bot lane is where we wanted to see him put some pressure down, and they're struggling. They are down in farm against the Ziggs. And I feel like one of the mistakes as well here is Thor's gone for the Coalfields. Now, some people may say that, you know, when you're behind, going the Doran's build sets you further behind. But you go the Doran's build against the Ziggs and you can just never poke you because you just heal it with the lifesteal. And it gives you that immediate power to sort of establish control of the lane. I feel like with the Coalfield, you're getting very little out of that. Maybe if you're able to buy a BF, sure, that's a different story, but Coalfield isn't going to turn this lane around and you're still behind in the Ziggs. And now that Hoyes has the Lost Chapter, he has a ton of mana regen available to him, he's able to consistently apply that pressure. Top lane leans coming in from Dusty. And they found Jolbu.
Engage on Jolbu right here. He's forced to flash away.
They'll just take the Summoner.
Yeah, they'll take the Summoner. I'm wondering if there's going to be an early QSS coming out from Legions here. He's already picked up a Null Magic Mantle. Maybe it could be the Merc Treads, but...
Merc Treads are really pointless in this game. Probably would be the QSS to come out. It's frustrating to end up spending all that gold, but considering how much of Malzahar's kits you shut down...
And the ultimate comes through. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And that is Thor going into the ground. Early lead picked up for Hoyes. This lane has been anything but fun for Thor. He has been battered around by that very annoying Yordle.
And this isn't a matchup thing. This is a skill difference. Dusty's bot lane are just playing this better. You pick MF, Nautilus, you should be winning that lane. The only thing that can make a difference is ganks or outside pressure, or in this case, skill. And now Andreas...
He's locked in. He's going to get kicked back. Flash will...
Oh, he does avoid that. He might actually get out here.
He will get out because Jolbu's coming through. Jolbu does not have his flash, but it doesn't matter because Predator, he misses the body slam. He might land a good ultimate here to save the day, and he will. Andreas will pick it up. So he salvaged the situation there. And Joachim is going to be left to try and defend this wave by himself.
A nice Kanagan coming out from Jolbu there. Andreas, normally one of the strong performers for this roster, able to find his way out and get the turnaround. So it was looking a little bit hopeless for Atlando there, losing in sort of all areas of the map, but they find a way back into it on the back of that counter. And now they've moved the Nautilus up. They're going to get this Herald.
Yeah, I think they've basically said we need to sort of play around mid to top side of the map here. There is big CS advantages opening up, though, for Dusty in both the bot and the mid side as well. Legions is about 20 up. It's veering on 30 for Hoyes right now, so the kind of the shining light is Andreas on that gangplank right now. The ultimate from Misfortune just to clear the wave. He'll actually avoid a lot of the damage that Hoyes puts out as well, although he will get dived. He's just going to get dived. I think he was dead anyway, but yeah, you're right. He just walked into the satchel. Legions will pick up the kill, and a lot of turret plates are now going to go the way of Hoyes. And remember, with Ziggs, you have that potential to execute turrets.
Yeah, Ziggs takes towers so fast. And that's a big... Plates benefited Ziggs so much, not just because he can burn through them quickly, but normally when a tower is low HP on Season 10, it's super hard to burn through that last plate. Ziggs doesn't even actually ever touch the last plate. His satchel goes through not only the last plate, but a little bit of the second to last as well. And it means that if you ever leave Ziggs alone in a lane, you have to respect the fact that they can just take the tower. It's getting pretty close in this situation.
It's like a free herald. It's literally like a free herald. There's going to be a Fred just out of position. The ultimate comes through. Hoyes picks up yet another a kill this time. I thought he picked up kills before, but that's going to be his first of the game, picking up assists previously. And that should be the first turret of the game with the satchel charge coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, he's waiting for the cooldown because he did use it to kill the Nautilus. You can throw it down from such a range. Boom, gone. First tower.
I mean, is that even going to be
Jolbu's actually in
Jolbu?
trouble.
Yeah, Jolbu's in trouble. There is still the hook available. You're going to get the hook onto the Misfortune, but that immediately comes from the teleport. I think only 35 will get his life. I'm not sure on the stopwatch there, but maybe...
I think that was buying space for Hoyes to run away.
Buying space for Hoyes.
A little bit of an overstep. You got the tower, should have just backed off to that point, but Dusty bot lane getting a little bit greedy, but with how the lane has gone so far, I can understand them looking to do that. 10 CS per minute, easily hit here by Hoyes. He's super strong on this Zig.
I think they could actually even contest this this Dragon too. There's going to be something in the Rift Herald in the bot side, so at least just to try and distract Hoyes while this Dragon is taking place. It will not get the turret, of course, but maybe buys enough time for Atlando to set up for this first Dragon.
Couple of plates, but I really don't think you contest this Dragon. I don't think you're strong enough. Only 35's moved down. Maybe you can try turn a fight on it. It's actually going to be the Merc Treads coming out from Legions. I think potentially just for the magic resist against AP mid jungle. And it does reduce the silence is one of the things, even though it doesn't affect the ult from the Malzahar.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be QSS, but maybe he just feels that the QSS does not offer him a good build slot advantage. He's just happy to take the Merc Treads. Maybe he feels that he's sufficiently far ahead of this Malzahar that it doesn't matter.
Potentially. We'll see if it pays off. Legion's going to pick up the blue buff here. And now this is where things get a little bit difficult, because they move the Ziggs in the mid lane. Ziggs will just perma-shove this. He is at the spike. The Ludens has been completed. He can now shove endlessly. It's very hard to contest. They transition Coincidence and Legions in the side lane. And the thing is, although they have the bot lane of Atlando here pressuring Coincidence, if they ever try and contest this tower, they'll just lose mid tower in a second.
Just the nature of Ziggs. They've still got another minute left on the plates as well, so maybe looking to try and get something out of the early game. We've actually headed into the 1-3-1 now as well, with Legions just happily moving into the side lane. Like we said, we thought was going to be the case with Dusty, trying to play a 1-3-1 style game. The only disadvantage is that I don't think Coincidence has had a particularly outstanding matchup versus Andreas right now. He hasn't really had too much opportunity to shine in the 1v1.
I don't think you need to. I think that's a one part of Dusty where a lot of damage coming in, but the stopwatch buys time.
Jolbu gets cooked, doesn't even land into the box. Joachim picks that kill up right at the end there.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. And I think that's the thing, is that Coincidence doesn't need to win hard against the Gangplank, because you will scale into being a split push threat. This is the point of game Dusty wanted to get to, the 1-3-1. So they can just keep applying pressure from this point onwards, threatening that mid lane tower. Because once you have priority in the side lanes, you can see Legions pushed up. He can threaten. He can threaten Andreas, or he can move mid and threaten a dive on a Jacob. And Jacob is very good at shutting down single divers. But when there's 4 people jumping on him, you got to pick one ult target, and it's very likely the other members will interrupt your ult. And now Hoyes, he's just throwing poke down. Will use the passive, the short fuse, to put damage down on that tower. And it's still a little bit away from the satchel charge kill point.
One or two more waves in that same vein, and that's going down.
Absolutely. And they're looking for Andreas here.
You crack open the mid lane tower, that kind of crack opens the game in a lot of cases. It allows you that access to the mid, to the blue and red side jungle is a bit more free form, allows you to shove that vision control up.
Allows you to push deeper is a big factor, is a big takeaway, and allows you to sort of expand that control. Top tower still being up isn't as big a factor when you've taken mid, because you can very easily rotate upwards, and there's a little that can be done. Now,
I'd love to see the gold advantage for Hoyes. You can see here, around 2,000, like pretty much 2/3 of the lead now.
He's 2 levels up as well.
Yeah, 2 levels up. He's got 2,000 gold lead. He is absolutely crushing. He is 2/3 of the advantage right now for Dusty. And when a Ziggs is this far ahead at 15 minutes, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the game.
No, it absolutely does not. It puts him in a position where he wasn't necessary for him to do this, for him to win the game. He was happy just farming bot lane, scaling up, neutralizing the pressure from the Misfortune and the Nautilus, and now he's gone above and beyond.
And again, Dusty just happy to execute on the game plan that they've been working towards here. That 1-3-1 is what they're looking for.
Absolutely is, and the pressure is just going to keep getting applied. They're 3,000 up in gold now. They got those 2 dragons, basically like clockwork. They can look to expand the lead based on that. And you can see Andreas just not in a position where he wants to walk up anywhere near to Legions. Legions again, he's slow pushing, trying to keep it frozen as best as he can, so that he can just deny as much farm from this Gangplank as possible. And the CS numbers across the board are pulling ahead. 50 CS in the bot lane, 20 in the mid lane. It is significant. At that point, it starts to be a couple of kills, and that's where the big part of the gold lead is coming from.
Yeah, it is. It's 40. I mean, like you said, it's kind of just expanded on the CS advantage that we've had throughout the game so far. And even now, Coincidence given some time to take that advantage versus Andreas. And Andreas actually locked into a matchup versus the LeBlanc. Probably not the one that he was looking for. I think he was having a good time versus Coincidence. He was managing okay. And the mobility of the LeBlanc makes it a bit more difficult to lock down with the barrels. However, Dusty are giving the second herald of the game over to Atlando for free here. They're not willing to try and contest that. And that will offer a little bit of a lifeline for some potential turret-taking capabilities here for Atlando.
The trade-off is the soul. The next dragon is going to put them even closer. Control has already been acquired around it. Dusty are playing for soul right now. And Atlando, they're going to try and contest mid to see if they can get control not only of the mid lane out of this tower being down, but also moving towards the dragon, which is spawning in 15 seconds.
I think they're going to get a lot of damage. I think they're going to get it. I don't think that... Unfortunately, I don't think the Hoys is in the position. Just a little bit of a mismanagement of position on the map right here for Dusty. They lose their mid lane
It's a smart
turret.
move. Not only that, they lose their control over the dragon. They traded the Herald for control over the dragon, and now they're losing out on this. Now, the conditional is that the Camille has taken a tower in the top lane, and she also has TP if she wants to join. But I think they just gave up this dragon here, and this soul that potentially could have been a factor for Dusty. We were talking about how we wanted the momentum to continue. We wanted them to have good control over neutral objectives. They just lost a Herald, a Dragon, and Min Tower. This is not really that great coming out from Dusty. As much as their early game was solid, things have started to waver a little bit.
Gangplank Ultimate will just clear the wave here against Coincidence, so they'll save that top lane tier 1 as well. The back timing is just all over the place, I think, around that dragon control. Unfortunately, they lost all of that pressure. I mean, they pushed up, they got vision control around the dragon pit, they pushed some into the red side jungle. Now Andreas is going to get chained up. Legions is going to continue the pressure, but unfortunately, a little bit more difficult to take a Gangplank down than it is a squishy mid laner like Malzahar.
Yeah, needed that second chain to connect if Joachim was going to come in and get the kill. Fortunately, did not manage to find that one. A good effort.
Good effort nonetheless, and you can see there's still a gold advantage that's been kind of claimed back here for Atlando. There was it was roughly around 3,000 to 4,000 previously, now sitting at around 2.5. So they're kind of keeping themselves relevant in this game.
And the big factor is the more gold there is in the game, the less relevant flat gold differences are. If you have a 3,000 gold lead at 10 minutes, that's a lot. You know, when people haven't or just about finishing their first items, it's a massive difference to have.
But at 30 minutes, less so. Yeah,
30 minutes definitely less so. It comes down to, compared to, you know, a 3-item champion being an item down and someone having a complete item to no items, it's a massive discrepancy. So the longer they can stall this out, the better their chances are for this. So far, there hasn't been a ton achieved from Dusty out of their 1-3-1. Bot tower's already down, top tower hasn't been taken. They didn't get the Herald, they didn't get the Dragon. You know, yes, they're 1-3-1ing, but you have to get something from it.
Yeah, they're not actually achieving much with their 1-3-1 right now. I will notice that Lee Sin's picked up, Joachim's picked up the QSS, the only one on the team so far to do so. I'm assuming because he's going to be trying to instigate these fights. He's going to be the guy looking into maybe jumping for a kick, and he will be the obvious target apart from the LeBlanc for the immediate Malzahar ultimate.
Yeah, and finally we're seeing Legions. He has priority in pot lane, so he leans that into mid to threaten potentially a dive. But unfortunately, they still can't find something here, and the game has now been paused. So we'll just get you an update, and looks like there's a DC coming out from Joachim.
Yeah, Joachim's just DC'd, so we're going to make sure that he can get back into the game as quickly as possible before we continue. Now, let's take stock of where we are. Give me a bit of a roundup of this game so far. It really felt like Dusty were in a solid position, but you said to me before the game started, you know, the longer Atlando can push this, the better it is for them. Yeah. We are coming up on 20 minutes with just under a 2K, just over a 2K gold advantage.
Nothing's happened for quite a while, in all honesty. Nothing for Dusty. Dusty had the early lead, and I thought, you know, this is looking great. They have a composition that plays well when it goes in the 1-3-1. They crushed bot lane, which I don't think should have happened on an equal skill matchup. They got into the 1-3-1, and they started applying that pressure. They had big CS leads, and then they give up a Herald. And then Herald gives Atlando mid tower, and then mid tower gives them Dragon, and it's like, what have you achieved out of this 1-3-1? What have you achieved out of your lead for Dusty? And I think they've just kind of been sleeping on it for a little bit of time. So hopefully they can find a bit more pace and they can start to expand things. I think this is the big thing, is the mid lane tower. We talked about how this really can stall out games, not having that, because it denies how deep you can push that mid wave, especially with the Ziggs who has permanent priority, and also it just denies that control you can have in the enemy jungle. And you saw before Legions and Joachim trying to push into the Raptor camp, and they were denied because that mid tower is available. And it means that essentially, if you look at where Thor and Fred are, they are able to provide assistance. And because the tower's there, they can do it from a safe position. So if you try and push into that Raptor camp, it's extremely dangerous to do so. And as a result, Atlando are able to consistently defend their own jungle until that mid tower goes down. And it's so close to the satchel, you saw Legion's distortion in to try and get it low enough, but it is still not low enough. And Atlando, they are doing their best to defend this tower.
I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I really do feel like Legion's mid-game damage potential has been cut pretty heavily by Merc Treads over Sork Boots. I really don't feel like he's been doing a huge amount of damage. There's an engage coming through, an immediate pull on to only 35, who jumps away. That'll be finished off by Jolbu. A lot of damage coming through from the Misfortune too, but they've actually traded back a nice amount of damage here too. If you get a good collapse coming out from Dusty, and that's a big jump, brilliant body slam. Insane reactions from Jolbu. And Andreas picks up the kill too. What a monster! Jolbu, you absolute monster.
I thought he was sleeping. I thought he was focused on recalling, and he reads it. He sees Legions come in. Body slams perfect to interrupt the damage. And Atlando, they're bringing out the miracles. Jolbu, he's had some great moments so
far.
He doesn't
have the mana for Satchel. He doesn't. I think he's going to get it.
He does.
He does. Oh, okay. Phew.
70 mana. He finally gets the mid lane tower. So overall, Atlando, they find 2 kills. Great for them, but they do eventually lose that mid lane tower. But the gold lead has been closed completely. It's 200 apiece, and Joachim has to flash away. Atlando are finding the momentum. They're actually finding some progress in this game. They got a couple of kills. They're starting to get some control on it. Despite the fact they lose their tower, it doesn't really matter that much if the enemy team isn't able to make use of it.
Yeah.
And Atlando are feeling confident. Dragon is coming up in 50 seconds. It'll be a second Ocean for them. Looking to contest. Potentially. Dusty on a bit of a back foot right now. They've lost that lead that they earned for themselves in the early game.
Jolbu's been monstrous. I think Jungler's coming in with some MVP performances so far. He's had that 100% kill participation. He's really kept Atlando's ball rolling in this game.
And you know why? I'll say it. Because jungle's broken.
Jungle is broken. You heard it here. Probably for the 7,000th time this season.
Broken roll. But either way, a roll that can massively impact the map. And Joachim's done a good job in the early game. But Jolbu able to find an opportunity to bounce back. Now, you still saw when they went for that engage, the turnaround potential from Hoy's, the AoE damage. And the 1-3-1 has awarded them this tower in the top lane because the lane assignment was switched up by Dusty and the reaction was not soon enough from Atlando. But that dragon is spawning just now. And Atlando looking to contest this one. Now, mid-priority goes over to Dusty, so that means potentially that the enemy team can move in. And Quinston's flash for flash.
Yeah, forces the flash out there. Quinston's very aggressive with that positioning, but it'll...
They're now hard looking towards this dragon, and you can see Thor's catching the wave, so he's going to have to move over slowly, but Engage comes in!
Massive damage! Kills out the jungler for Joachim, but they trade 1-for-1. A great pull now comes through to Jacob, who gets locked up in the ultimate from Camille. He may go down as Legions jumps in. It'll be the stopwatch coming in from Fred. I think this could be a solid turnaround. Those Legions manages to dodge out from that Misfortune ultimate, and it's still Hoy's in the backline. Triple kill for him.
Hoy's is just a monster on this Ziggs. So much damage coming out. It looks like it was going to be Atlando favored when they made that first pick, but then the bombs come in. And they Ziggs.
Ziggs is broken, dude.
Broken champ. I've been saying it. 240 CS, the items he has, you just do a lot of damage. You have the raw penetration from the Sork Shoes and the Oblivion Orb. You have the Madness passive stacking up, so later in that fight, he's doing that extra percentage damage. Ziggs hurts.
We're going to get the dragon. Thor not even interested in contesting that, as you would expect. So they keep that dragon soul alive for the next dragon to spawn, and that is something that Atlando will have to keep their eye on. They did let it slip just a little bit. Some of the good work they've done over the last 10 minutes or so, just ever so slightly undone. Not a huge amount gained for Dusty. They've basically put that gold lead back up to about 1,500 and picked up a Dragon Soul timer. But it's not like they've completely run away with it after that.
Yeah, but it does make it a little bit precarious. That Soul can mitigate a lot of the damage.
I'm just looking at the gold difference right now. We kind of tagged on it earlier on. It is nigh on
I mean, he
three and a
picked
half.
up a triple kill.
Yeah, it's 3,500 for Hoyes.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of gold difference.
And in case you're not aware, Ziggs doesn't really fall off.
Ziggs scales pretty well with gold.
He scales very well with gold, and it gets to the point where his ultimate, you hit it on an immobile champion like Thor or Jacob, boom. That's it. They're out the fight. They're out the fight. They're out the game.
Coincidence here in a 1v1 versus Jelbu. He does look for the stun, tries to put pressure on. Huge damage coming down. The ultimate there as well. He gets knocked well out of the ultimate by Jelbu. And in the meantime, though, Jacob getting pressured out by Joachim. No one will go down in that exchange, but definitely close.
Yeah, but you can definitely see since that dragon fight, complete control being given back over to Dusty. They're the ones shoving in. They're the ones applying pressure. And they've caught back the momentum of this game. We said if things slowed down, it would look concerning, but that one fight was enough. Hoy's coming up huge on this pick.
And Legion's just continuing that bot lane split push. He has had a fairly quiet game, compared to someone like Hoy's, but he's still doing his job really well. And like you said, he's managed to maintain that early advantage all the way back from just controlling the way that wave looked. Joachim now waiting here against Jelbu, maybe looking for a steal. Won't get it.
Yeah,
forces the smite.
Silence is too strong. Coming out from the Malzahar. When it catches you, as LeBlanc or Lee saying, you essentially just have to sit there and accept your fate.
A lot of items actually picked up for the Gangplank right now. He is sitting on a Triforce and an Essence Reaver, so he's pretty well scaled. He's scaling pretty well as well. It's a good spot for him as now Thor, the target, not going to get engaged back on by Fred because he doesn't feel comfortable that his team are in a position to follow up on it.
And also Quintus didn't even have ult when he went for that play, so a little bit ambitious. That's the sort of play that may make Thor panic and burn his flash, but he didn't have it, so it wasn't going to work in that regard.
I think also they knew that Hoyes was literally just sitting there. So if that engage went on and they were spending time dealing with Coincidence, Hoyes was just throwing bombs. And
well, I more meant from Quintus not following through and not having the ult. But later in the game, I'm just waiting for the moment Coincidence presses R on someone, Hoyes presses R on someone, that someone no longer exists.
Yeah, because it just boxes them in for an easy ultimate as well for Ziggs.
And it does so much damage. If you get hit with the center, the ratio is 110%. If you get hit by the edge, the ratio is 73.3%. So still a lot of damage to be hit by the edge of it. Really significant. And now 1 minute 40 on this next dragon. If Atlando get this, it's just their second. But Dusty, it would be the soul. And in the 1-3-1, it gives them longevity. It gives mana regeneration for the Ziggs, which is a big factor. I don't feel like overall it's the best for their compositions. Usually when you have like a sort of sustained tank like Zac, Ocean Soul just makes them unkillable.
Any kind of like high HP champion is going to benefit from it.
Like an Ornn becomes really hard to kill with an Ocean Soul. On this composition, it's not really that great because there's a lot of squishies that you can still build.
Very good for Ziggs though. Very
mana
good for
is
Ziggs,
the big thing for Ziggs because that's always an issue. Blue buff, hugely desirable in a Ziggs. Ocean Soul essentially gives you a lot of extra mana regen, which you're never going to complain about.
Legions has to be careful, but there is the support from Joachim here. They're setting up for a dragon as Jelbu immediately jumps away.
I want to contest it, but Quinton's TPing in. They're looking for the long flank.
They do not have a turret to work with right now. Jacob loses that shield, immediately jumped onto, kicked away, and that is the bomb picking up the kill from Hoyes. And now they're going to lock up Jewel, but I don't know how long that's going to save you, my friend. The flash comes through, the stun immediately followed up by Coincidence, and that is a 2-for-0. That will set the Dragon Soul up. This is a good trade from Atlando, probably the best they could get in this situation, and they're going to back off after getting the tier 2 turret.
Yes, they trade okay in terms of goal, but TP's not coming in from, I believe, Legions, and he's looking to find them. They are not letting them get away with this one. If they get these kills, it could mean Baron, not just the Ocean Soul. Fred thought, it was nice knowing you.
I think they're just dead. The Flay comes through, and they'll pick up the kill onto Fred.
Easy pickings. 6-0 now on the Ziggs. 300 farm at 28 minutes. Andreas actually heading over the Dragon. He's looking to start this one up, but he's been seen on a ward. TP coming in from Jacob. They want this soul. They want to deny it, but as I said, the cost of losing your bot lane there is the Baron. Dusty, they don't mind if they give over an Ocean Dragon here. Ocean Soul, not that important for them anyway, and critically, the Baron is a massive factor here. When we've seen how successful their 1-3-1 can be, when the setup is right, with the Baron, it's going to be even more threatening to the side of Atlando.
All right, so Legion's now in the mid lane. Just, again, with 1-3-1 with the Baron, like you just mentioned, it's going to be a fantastic little addition for them to allow them to push those side lanes more effectively. Big item spikes picked up Rabadons for Hoyes. Legion also picking up his damage output is going to be significantly bumped. Triforce and QSS there for Coincidence too, so they're giving themselves that spread of teamfight potential too. You know, even if they, and also allows Coincidence to look for the 1v1 if he does get locked in versus Malzahar. Having that QSS is going to help him immeasurably versus the side lane split push there. And then again, we have the next dragon spawning in about 4 minutes. So that's the Dragon Soul again.
They make it that far. Gold lead now, about 3,500. The 1-3-1 as again coming out. Joachim looking to potentially push in deeper and get some vision here. They'll lean heavily towards the bot side, although one thing is there's no TP available for Coincidence. So he's not going to be able to quickly join fights if they do open out. But right now, Dusty don't want to fight. They don't want a 5v5. They just want to push these lanes in, have Baron in 3 waves, although not a fight, but a pick could potentially come in. But Jacob able to back off safely. QSS is now picked up for Coincidence and Joachim, so those two who are looking to dive do have a way out. Or sort of by inaction manages to dodge away from the hook.
Sometimes that's all you need.
And I mean, just, yeah, the items for the Ziggs. This is huge spikes right now.
It makes sieging so easy versus a team like this as well, because you just catch one bomb and that's half your HP gone.
Yeah, at this point, when the Ziggs is fed, you hit bomb, boom. That's you recalling.
You could even just ult on the spot if you wanted to just put pressure on around that turret.
You could, but it doesn't really work against Mr.
Jolbu go for the gank. He actually locks up the Ziggs immediately into the ultimate. The Zhonya's comes through to keep him alive just for the moment, and a great flash across the wall. The ultimate will not hit. They'll take out Jolbu. It was a really good attempt. They couldn't quite finish it down. They got the shutdown onto Coincidence, but they couldn't quite execute enough damage.
They stopped the Baron push is a major factor. But the critical issue there was Thor's bullet time just not hitting Hoyes. If that was just a little bit to the left, Hoyes would be dead. He survived long enough to get the stopwatch off and then flash away. It was a great attempt from Jolbu. Honestly, he has looked so good this game. When it feels like there hasn't been much of an opportunity for Atlando to find pressure, he does. He absolutely does.
That was a good flank. You have to praise the attempt. I think at this point you're just too far ahead. If you're Dusty, that is Legion's just jumping back to the original distortion, almost getting caught out here. Jumps back in and tries to get the chain onto Fred right now. It's a little bit of a risky attempt and engage, but Jacob's already used that ultimate, and here comes Hoyes. And again, he is that artillery cannon. He is lobbing very, very, very heavy bombs towards Atlando's side.
And you just gotta dodge him. You can't get hit. They do so much damage. But the Baron is expired. That is a critical thing here. Base has not been cracked for Atlando, and they've even managed to keep up that bot lane tier 2 tower. So overall holding on pretty well against Baron buff. But it's a minute 30 on the next dragon. It will be the soul again for Dusty. And then a minute after that, they have the Baron. So there's a clear setup for them to sort of contest these objectives. Reset's coming in now for only 35 and Joachim. And after that, they want to fully establish control on the bot side of the map. But Atlando, this is your window to contest it. But Joachim has actually stayed about. He's going to recall now. It's a little bit late. And this is actually a window for Atlando really to firmly establish control over this dragon area. And you need to do this because if you lose control against the Ziggs, you can't walk in.
No.
He throws the Hextech minefield down, and you just can't walk over it. It does too much damage.
He hasn't got flash as well. Remember, he burnt it in that last fight with the good flank coming in from Jolbu.
And no more stopwatch available for him.
Yes, he sold it as well. I thought it was Zhonya's, but it was actually just that stopwatch.
Just a stopwatch because they knew the Baron push needed to be a big, impactful one. And it did save him. It saved that 1,000 gold bounty. It goes down regardless. Now they're playing with the vision. Ocean Soul map means extra brushes available to play around, so a bit harder for Dusty to push in here, but Hoyes can just throw a bomb towards his bush. There shouldn't be a threat.
They're going to get the Sonic Wave and they will catch them out. Now Hoyes in a position where he can potentially just fire from the back. Jacob takes a ridiculous amount of damage. The ult, full half HP from the edge. That is Ziggs in the late game, everybody. Absolutely disgusting. Jolbu trying to do what he can.
Legion's on the flank.
Legion's looking for the flank. They are desperate desperate to contest this, so I don't even think you really need to. Fred is surely going to die here as Jacob doing his best to silence out. Legions gets a kill onto Jolbu. Immediately Quinstance jumps in. This looks like a field day for Hoys, but it is Legions that's picking up the kills. Oh my word, triple kill surely here. It's going to be an Ocean Soul as well as maybe even an inhibitor turret. And that is disgusting from Dusty. That is a game-winning play.
That's game. They don't even care about the Dragon. They're running straight to end. They have enough damage. The huge AP from the LeBlanc, the Triforce from the Camille, and then the Ziggs, just the Ziggs alone. 40-second death timers is well enough for them to close this one out. Dusty, there's definitely moments where it felt a little bit slow and they lost their momentum, but they come out with a decisive win.
Screw trebuchets. It is Ziggs, the superior siege weapon. 90 kilogram satchels over 300 Timos, and it will be Dusty picking up the win, going 5-4 in the Nordic Championship.
Yeah, and Hoy's just smashing it. Yeah, really strong performance on the Ziggs. I feel like there was definitely things he did well on the Ziggs that you expect, but they crushed lane, and that is just
set up for success through the rest of the game.
2v2 difference. 2v2 difference. Played it really well. The whole team, I think, had a solid performance. Quinstance was a bit quiet, but he didn't need to be active.
Yeah.
Joachim and Legions, strong early pressure. Hoy's only 35, crushing the lane matchup. And I've got to say, like, consolidation to Jolbu. He looked good, and he really tried. He had some great flanks.
He did.
And he put a good effort in.
And then the day, it might have looked like he was inting, but he was like some of the fights later on, but he was setting up potential lifelines. And when your bot lane is just that far behind the Ziggs, there isn't much you can do.
Yeah,
he found the isolating play onto the Ziggs on the Baron play. That could have been...
That was actually huge.
That could have been a swing, but there was just too many defensive tools available for Ziggs. He hadn't been threatened enough in the game.
And a little bit missed execution. But I love seeing it. I love seeing the attempts that they're not just willing to sort of roll over and die in response to this. And this is the thing with Atlando. As much as they're, at the bottom of the table, as much as they've been struggling, there's always these glimmers of something greater. And I'm just waiting for the day we see them really challenge the top teams. Maybe it doesn't happen this split. Maybe it happens a later split. But I think every player on this roster does have potential.
Yeah, I mean, especially if
and they're showing it.
Especially when you're, in this case, sometimes making an individual case for yourself as well for the future. Jolbu definitely setting himself up for success as well. I think he's actually been performing well through pretty much all the games that I've seen him play. So I think he's got...
Not all.
Okay.
I'm thinking back to a certain Lee Sin game.
Okay. Well,
it was like there was one great kick he got, and then everything else was just tragically bad. But this game was pretty good.
When he's on the Gragas, he looks moderately comfortable. Dusty now find themselves tied with Hillerod at 5-4. So that's a good space for them to be in. Obviously, now really contesting for playoffs. We have one game left today, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big one. Maybe if I went back to the start of the season, I would have been much more hyped for this game. Nordic versus Singularity. But as Nordic have found, they're actually 7th in the table, despite the talent that they have on their roster. But like I said, if they're mounting a comeback, Singularity is the team to do it against.
Yeah, this is a big test because Singularity haven't been flawless. They've been very strong and they're at the top of the table, but there's been cracks. And I think this is a chance, if Nordic have sort of brought their A game, they can potentially punish this, but it's definitely Singularity favored.
Singularity favored indeed. We'll see you after a short break.